Hello and welcome to this episode of Paula's Run Club with me, Paula Radcliffe.
And me, Christopher Thompson.
And this one is all about what gets you out of the door. So we're talking about different tricks that you can use to get yourself motivated to get out for your training run on the days when you really feel like it and on the days when you don't feel like it. And we have an extra special guest coming up in terms of somebody who probably never even dreamed when they were starting out that they would be getting out the door to go for a run. That was on the Big Breakfast way back, if you remember, like I do, and incidentally with Gabby Roslin, who we'd love to see on at some point, but we are of course talking about Chris Evans, DJ, Radio 1 DJ, Radio 2, Virgin, and started out right back on the Big Breakfast, but now of course very into his running. And I do remember the time he took me aside, I think it was like 2015, and I was in the then Radio 2 studios. They were doing a Children in Need auction for places in the London Marathon, and he basically pulled me into this little room beside the studio. He's like, I can't contain it, I'm so excited. I've signed up for the marathon, but I've told nobody. You have to help me get through it. And I was like, what do you mean? Do you run? He said, well, no, but I'm going to start now. This was November, so he did have time to build up towards it. He managed to get through without even telling Tash, his wife, for that first one. But I think was absolutely, we'll let him talk about it later on, but was absolutely blown away by that atmosphere of London, has raised huge amounts of awareness and funds for charities, particularly children in need, over the years, but has really been bitten by the running bug, as has Tash. So we'll leave him to inspire you a little bit later on and maybe start off. I've shared my memory of Chris. Do you have one of Chris Evans?
Well, it's funny because we talked just before that he got me out of bed in the 90s. Not literally, I didn't sleep next to him, but he was the Radio 1 DJ. So I would set my alarm for school to Radio 1 and it would be his voice getting me out of bed. I did actually, when I got to meet him first time, I let him know, and I don't think he was too I think he'd heard it a million times, but his iconic voice from the 90s going into TFI Friday and the Big Breakfast start and all those things, his enthusiasm for entertainment and now like running is infectious, and I'm excited to hear everything he has to say about his journey, because he's written a couple of books I think as well about training for marathon and all that. So he's an interesting chap and he's an entertaining chap, best of both worlds.
And totally changed his mindset. I think he will also talk about, and we talk again and again, don't we, on this podcast, about the community that it brings together, but also the importance for mental health. And certainly for me, that's a lot of the reasons now that I get out the door to go running. It's not for any competitive goals anymore. I used to have that motivation, and on those days when, and let's be honest, when you're an elite athlete or when you're anybody training for the marathon, there are days when you don't want to go out the door and you kind of have to search for that motivation, and it can be anything from trying out a new route, new kit. That's always a good one. Try out a new pair of shoes, you feel a little bit springier, a little bit bouncier, or promise yourself the new pair of shoes if you go for the run. And the other thing is to choose a run which you can't really back out of very easily, so a really motivating run for you, or arrange to meet friends. That's a good one too, because nobody wants to let their mates down, and if you're all waiting to do a run, you know that if you get there to the corner of the park, then the others will help you get through it if you're struggling a little bit that day.
Yeah, because you've hit a lot of different things there, but also I go back to the word creativity. Like creativity is a big spark of mine in life. Like, because I do think the world is, without getting too philosophical, is making us less creative because of things like AI, and it's doing it for us. And actually, running is a great excuse to be creative, not just about how you get out the door, but also once you're out the door, your brain can kind of light up through ideas. If you've got a problem, you can go out for a run to solve that problem. So it's not necessarily about the run; it's about problem solving. For example,
I love to go for a run before we record. I can't at the moment, and it's really bugging me. So instead, I was on the cross trainer this morning.
You know what? I thought you're not quite there today.
Not quite on it, am
I? I haven't run for 4.5 weeks, and I'm really starting to feel it because exactly as you say, it sets you up for the day. It sets up your mind, and it almost flips the motivation because for me, the motivation to do the good habits that are not directly running through drinking and eating are switched on through going for a run. So my coach, Alan, who we've had on, would say to me, good habits breed good habits. and bad habits breed bad habits. So going for a run sparks you to come back. What's the first thing you think when you come back? Oh, I'm thirsty. But you might not have thought that before, so it sparks you to have a drink. And so, and it just does, it just breeds, it's a positive virus.
And it's like we threw the question out, didn't we, on one of the polls, like, is running for you, is it a social thing or is it an individual thing? And I think it can be both for so many people. I was certainly one of the ones that replied absolutely both, because there are days when I actually don't want to speak to anyone. I'm up to here with people and I want to escape and just run and just be in my own mind. And sometimes I end up on a route that I didn't plan. I just kind of let myself go on autopilot and then think, all right, okay, now I just need to get home from here. Other times I really kind of crave just meeting friends and just being able to chat and pass the time really quickly. And the other day, so my son has picked up a little injury at the moment, which is his first injury, obtained, unfortunately, jumping in the pool and slipped and hurt his foot. But it's really frustrating for him. So I said, okay, well, maybe you've got to rest it, go in an aqua jog. And I think he did 2 minutes and he said, Mum, this is so boring. But he would never say that when he's running. So trying to transform that around, I tried to flip it over to him that now when you actually go back to running, you're going to appreciate it so much more. And I think that is one of the lessons that we learn when it gets taken away from us, that it becomes a central part of our day and a part of us feeling better.
And again, I think that I've always felt like, and I think elite athletes are not criminal of this, but we get so focused on the performance outcome, whether we achieve it or not. There's almost a line in the sand, and you have to reset what gets you out the door. But actually, one of the most powerful thing of why you exercise should be about the routine and the other side effects, rather than having to have them as kind of chapters, setting race goals, PB goals, but actually it's about the length of the book. I don't know if my analogy. I'm criminal for trying to do analogies, but I just always feel like your athletes, when they have that low after an Olympics, it's like, what's next? And actually, that we take for granted we're being healthy day to day, and actually, when we stop having those, we have to replace that with well-being reasons. Everything we're talking about now, now, what gets me out the door has to be something about the routine of it, and not necessarily about something that I'm going to reach for. Like we talked about London Marathon, have something for afterwards. Because you don't want to kind of find yourself in the trenches of what next before it happens, if you get what I mean.
And so many people, thank you so much for all of the emails that are coming in. Some great questions that we'll get to a little bit later on there, but also a lot of people just reaching out just to say that they kind of found their why, if you like, and they've found their reason. And again, there's a wide range. It can be other people that have inspired them into it. It can be, as maybe Chris will talk about, reaching a certain age in life and just kind of thinking, what am I doing? I want to try something a little bit different with my life, and then finding that new direction, that new community, and kind of pulling in family and friends around into that journey as well. So you didn't quite say your tips, Tom, for getting it out of the door when you, what did you go to when you were really, really struggling?
Do you know what? I asked myself this question yesterday. I was thinking, what is that one-liner I say to myself that gets me out the door? Because there is this underlying, I know I'm going to get out the door. So when I question it, I know I'm going to, because it's a force of habit. But I think I thought, what's that one line? And the best way I can describe it is that I know how much pleasure it's going to give me once it's done. It's like the reverse of alcohol. It's like if I get to a point at the end of the day and I feel like a beer, it's because I know it's going to make me feel relaxed and it's going to give me a buzz. But I also, in the back of my mind, go, oh, even one drink now makes me feel a bit fuzzy the next day. But running does the opposite. There's the regrets beforehand, the feeling of before of like, I don't always necessarily want to get out the door, but I know how much of a buzz I'm going to get when I get back. And so that's the thing that gets me out. And I also know within 2-3 minutes of being out the door, I'm going to be glad I'm out the door. So it's not like I'm running for half an hour regretting it. It's only the initial step. So I try to tell myself, don't do the run before you've done the run. Like, first step first, put your shoes on. Well, put your clothes on. Gemma doesn't like when I walk around the house and just my shoes.
It's like in the first series, isn't it? We talked about the 10-minute rule. Like, if you really, really don't feel like getting out, if after 10 minutes you really, really, really don't feel like being out there, it probably is a run that you should turn back from. But otherwise, and the general rule of thumb for me is, you very, very rarely come back from a run feeling worse than when you went that out the door, and I think that for me is the benchmark. But I also always go back to the classic one. Was it Cohen Yvette who said, one of Co said he got out on Christmas Day because he knew that Steve Yvette would be going out for a run on Christmas Day, so he got out on Christmas Day to do his run, and years later they were talking about it, and Yvette turned around to him and went, what, did you only go once?
Very good. Yeah. But it's like, did you run on Christmas Day?
So actually for me, Christmas last year, 2024, was an extra special one for me because I got to do my Christmas run around the Ballygally Hills with my son Raf, which was really special, and a family run. So I wonder if the Evans family got out for that. I'm very sure that they did do. Without further ado, should we listen to what Chris Evans has to tell us? We're talking in this episode about what makes us tick and the reasons why we run. And I really clearly remember the first time you kind of basically pulled me into a little cupboard outside of the studios at Radio 2 when we were there for the Children in Need auction and said, I've got a big secret. I'm going to be running the London Marathon. And that was your first journey into running, right? You didn't run at all before?
Not really, no.
Not really?
No, I know. Well, I didn't. No, is the answer. By the way, I can't believe you're interviewing me about running.
I know. It's always switching roles now.
Hilarious. It's like a parallel universe.
No, but I think it's really because so many people who listen to the podcast have kind of fallen into running for whatever reason and then just found that it's that kind of thing that makes them tick. Whereas Tomo and I kind of fell the other way, if you like. We were in the competition side, and then now it's really just what makes us feel better in the day.
Yeah.
And I was joking with him last week about how antsy I've got because I can cross train, but I haven't been able to run since I messed up my calf. And even this week, I'm so much happier because I got out for a couple of jogs. I managed to warm down with my son Raf when we were at Stretford for the British Milers Club earlier in the week in the pouring rain, and loved it. And then got out for a half an hour, 40 minutes run yesterday. And I'm happier all of a sudden. And
you do seem exceptionally happy at the moment. We've caught you on an amazing day. I mean, I've never seen you not happy, but you seem particularly happy today. You're fizzing.
Well, I think that is that because it's the only thing that's different, really. I'm travelling around I am excited about the Diamond League, which we'll be commentating on from London, Stratford even, tomorrow. So I am excited about that, but I do think the biggest reason is that I've got back into that. Plus, I'm interviewing you, and it is infectious because your enthusiasm for running also comes across every time that you talk about it, and every time you organise one of the huge, big charity events that you do and raise so much money.
Yeah, well, I love it. I mean, you know what happened to me, don't you? I was driving home from Radio 2 one day, and I was driving past this place called Virginia Water, this lake, just by Wentworth Golf Club, and I literally heard a voice in my head, and I've never really heard it since, and I've tried to, and this voice said, it sounds very woo-woo, but it's true, so I can describe it. It said, you need to park your car up there. I was in a silver 1960s Mercedes, and this voice said, you need to park your car up and try and get around that lake. And I said, why? And there was no reply, but I definitely heard this voice. So I parked the car up and I went around the lake. I went anti-clockwise. No, I went clockwise. Couldn't get around it. I mean, I walked around it, shuffled a bit. Then I went back the next day, same time, 10:30 on the way home from London, and nearly got around it. And then the next day I did get around it. And then I just carried on running around it for a few more days. And then contacted the London Marathon people and said, any chance for, any room for a small one? They went, absolutely. I said, but the thing is, I don't want anyone to know. They went, that's not how it works with a media place. The reason you get a media place is so you talk about the London Marathon. Yeah, I said, well, there's a trade-off here. I said, there's going to be a great story when I pitch up on the day, having not talked about it on this huge radio show that I get to do every day. That'll be a story within itself. And they sort of said, okay. And it did work, and I trained. And, because I met you the day before at the Tower Bridge Hotel, and I said, Polo, we're still doing this. You went, yeah, clearly, because you're in the hotel and you've got a number.
And you were even talking about going to buy a new pair of shoes that day.
I know.
Weren't you? Classic mistake. Don't do that.
I know. But having said that, you've done that since, haven't you?
No.
You've worn a new pair of shoes.
Isla did.
Isla did.
Isla did this year. She decided to save the shoes.
Yeah.
She wasn't like she could ask advice from anyone in the family, was it? So,
sorry, you've told that story, haven't you, on this podcast? Yeah,
no, that was the cross country spikes one that I told on your show.
That's so funny.
Where,
Should we do that
she
again
didn't listen
now?
to my advice. Yeah, so she was going to do the national schools cross country as part of their team, and it was really muddy. So I'd sent her off with different lengths of spikes. And I said, if it's really bad, put the longer ones in the front, slightly shorter ones in the back. And she called me the day of, and she was really nervous. And I said, what's it like? Is it muddy? And she said, well, it is really muddy. It's only just that Ines, my teammate, told me to do it the other way around, so I've done it the other way around. I was like, okay. And what happened? It tripped up on the first bend.
Yeah, so she took her mate's advice over yours.
Yeah, because it's not like I've done it.
But you're her mum. You know, that's the thing, isn't it? Apparently, when your kids get to a certain age, well, Raf say, hi, Raf, say hello. Hi. He's cameramanning and everything today, isn't he? They say that when your kids get to a certain age, whether it's 12 or 13 or 14, whatever it is you want them to do, tell a trusted adult friend of yours and theirs what it is, and they might listen to it from somebody else, just not you.
Yeah,
so that's what we're doing.
And sometimes they might later on, I think, come back.
You should have told her best mate what you wanted her to know.
We tried that with Crammy. It worked for about 10 days.
Yeah, but
he was given a training for the
right.
marathon.
Okay, and then did she suss it out, or
no? I think maybe he was too close, because it is almost kind of like she's grown up knowing him. So maybe maybe we needed someone a bit further away. We should have got probably you.
He analysed her to death or something. Did he start her to death? Maybe.
No. I think he was probably just checking in on her a bit too much. Typical teenager. Yeah. But she didn't finish it. She did enjoy it. And she did say afterwards, I might do another one, and I might actually do some training for this one. But Noah runs as well, doesn't he?
Noah runs as well, yeah. Noah's our 16-year-old. Again, later running, doesn't really run that much. Sign up for the Richmond. There's loads of Richmond halves. I think there's a Richmond half every other week, and they've got slightly different names. And it was the Richmond, I think it was the Thames Path half. And he entered it with his mum. Obviously, Tasha's a big runner. And I think he was 136 or 137. They're really quite extremely annoying, especially for his mum who's trying to smash it.
Who is doing great though. I mean, and that first marathon, we should say, you actually managed to keep it from Tash the entire way through the training.
I could have been doing anything.
I don't know how you managed that.
Well, she wasn't even suspicious.
Good job Coldplay weren't filming you out there.
Oh, I know. By the way, what a story that is. I know. One day, because I'm all in still, but I was so obsessed with that first marathon, because you don't know if you're going to finish it or not, and you just don't want to get it wrong. And it's still the easiest marathon I've ever done by miles. So so much spring in my legs, so excited. But I remember one day in like 6 or 7 weeks from the race itself, I did 2 long runs in a day, and I did an 11 or 12 miler in the morning, and just went out again in the afternoon. So that was a double long run day. Wow. And she still didn't care where I'd been. She still didn't notice that I wasn't back in time for countdown. It was honestly unbelievable. So either she trusts me implicitly, or she doesn't care. No, we're going to go for
the first one.
I'll go for option number 1 there, yeah. But she's doing great. I mean, she's crazy. She ran 100 miles last year.
She's smashing it.
Yeah.
She's really kind of, I mean, I guess, do you train together, or
no,
do you not train together?
Gosh, no. We go on a trail every Saturday morning, which it's not really a training run. So we do usually 13 miles. I'd say 9 times out of 10 it's a 13-mile run to a local village near here, and it's a little post office that sells toasties. We call it the toast office, not the post office. No works. Excuse me, in the post office, and it's 8 miles there and 5 miles back, and we usually do that one, but we do a minimum of 10. And that's I love the trails. I think I'm transitioning to the trails. I think a lot of people are, aren't they? Trails. Yeah.
I'm going up to do the Kielder one. You should do that one.
Whatever you like.
Kielder in October.
Yeah, and
around Kielder Water up in Northumberland.
Yeah, and you go up on the Corniches, don't you, above Monaco anyway? So I've seen you on those trail runs. They look so beautiful.
Yeah.
I
started filming them. I've got those Meta glasses.
Have you
filmed some of my trail runs, because otherwise you can't run with a phone? I would just
I
managed to fall on the stage the other day.
The thing about the trail runs, though, isn't it? It's because you're in nature. You're forest bred, you're in nature. It's dynamic as well because of the uneven terrain. It's like a sort of cryptic crossword puzzle as well, because you've got to find your path. There's ups and there's downs. I like cycling for that reason. Because you get the ups and it means you get the downs. You get a bit more out of breath. I walk the hills. You taught me that. Walk the hills, run the downs, because your dad taught you that, didn't he? Which is how you won your first.
And keep running over the top of the hill. That's what he taught me as well. That when you get to the top, so many people think, oh, haven't I done great? I've got to the top of the hill. Slow down, have a bit of recovery.
Yeah.
Whereas if you keep running hard off the top in a race, you gain a bit of a gap on the others. And that's what I used to win the World Cross Country the first time.
Well, and that's why I employ that method as well. On a Saturday morning, running to the post office.
To drop Noah.
Yes. But it's great. I mean, I'm kind of, I can't thank you enough, can't thank Vassos enough, who used to work with me on the Breakfast Show, because he's a big runner. It was viral. Just be, you know what it's like, Paula. If you want to do something, it's much easier to start doing it if you just join in with people who are already doing it. That whole thing about environment is the most influential thing, isn't it? There are important fitness foundations like sleep and nutrition and hydration, and but what you consume is often who you are. And consumption isn't just food, and it's not just liquid, it's media, it's conversation, and if you get around the right tribe and you just keep, they say in Zen Buddhism, we've all got the different seeds of emotions inside us, and you can't get rid of the bad ones. No. Just keep watering the good ones. And
it's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
And just water them every single day and get a ritual, get a regime. What I do every morning, Paula knows this, that I drive to work, I drive to Baker Street from Marlow, which is about 30 miles. And then I park up at Baker Street and I run to the studios at London Bridge for Virgin Radio, and that's 4.5 miles. And I park up at 5:30, which means I have to run, because otherwise I'll be late for the show. And when I'm late for work, everybody knows. And I do that every day. And I used to run sort of 3 times out of 5 and maybe cycle the other 2, but I never knew which one. And that just sort of tripped me off a bit. So now I just run every single day. So there's no decisions to be made. Because again, this, if you leave yourself open to options, then you on the wrong day, you'll just take the easier option.
Yeah.
And we all know after the first half mile of a run that we didn't really want to go on. We're so glad we did. It's never the other way around. You never want to go on a run and then a half a mile into them think, I really wish I hadn't done this. It's always the other way around. Yeah. And if you run regularly, it's just a question of warming up the muscles, isn't it? I think you're so glad you're out there. And then you get, I do it's 40k a week, and then whatever we're doing at the weekends. And I do that. That is my life now.
And do you run back as well?
No, I don't run back.
So you don't use it, because I was going to ask you what your technique is for those days because everybody gets them, where you need that little bit of an extra motivation.
Yeah.
And it might be because it's tipping it down outside.
Yeah.
It might be because you're tired. It might be because you had a late night. But for whatever reason it is, everyone has their little techniques that they'll throw in to get them out the door. New shoes, new kit,
I think
different route, meet someone. But yours is actually part of the car. I've got to get there.
Well, yeah, just get if you want to keep up a regular running regime, get an international breakfast show, radio show that starts at 6:30 in the morning that you have to be at, and park your car, far enough away. You don't need any motivation. And the running in the rain, all this running in the rain, running in the dark, running in the summer, running in the winter, running in the spring, running in the autumn. If you're running, it doesn't matter what the weather's like. And as you're running and you see people all wrapped up, this is in central London. It's not the North Pole. Do you know what I mean? And you can see, and they've scrunched their face up, and you're just running past them in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, because it doesn't matter, because we've just been programmed to buy clothes and coats, and and I actually find it hilarious. I don't laugh at them.
We used to make a game out of it when we were kids.
Yeah.
Who could jump in the biggest puddle
and
of
course
everybody else. And it's like, you have white trainers there, white only until they go on a few trail runs, and then they'll look like proper runners.
Yeah, and then now we've got the Gore-Tex trail shoes, and Tash hates getting wet feet, but she's just started triathlon, so dry feet are not an option.
And you're not going to do the triathlon?
No, she just did one at the weekend, her first triathlon.
How did it go?
She was first out of the water in the River Thames. She lost that out on the cycle because we borrowed a bike. And she smashed the run. So now she's just like straight in, Monday, stat. You should stat. She's all over it. And and also the thing about the 3 disciplines is it's a different training regime. So she looked like Lara Croft anyway, and now she looks like Lara Croft's like more athletic sister. It's ridiculous.
She is, and there's Mama 4 out there,
Yeah,
absolutely
she's a machine,
smashing it. She is
yeah,
brilliant.
and you, by the way, you are her hero. I'm not.
I think
she
she's for lots of people, because remind me what she got down to in London this year?
She's
It was another personal best, wasn't it? We both did personal best.
Yeah, 320 odd, I think it was. Yeah, 323 or 324.
Yeah, it was definitely under 325.
Yeah, I mean, I think she can run quicker. I think, but you.
Oh yeah, it was hot this year.
Yeah, but she just can. I mean, we went out with Martin Yelling once.
Mm-hmm.
So Martin came and took us on some people bid to come running with us, so he came and coached them. And she started running. Tash was with us all, and we were on our favourite trail, which is just where we are now, just in the Chilterns. And she started running, and I was with Martin. And Martin just looked at me, and all he said was, "Sorry about that." I said, "What? That?" And he just looked at the way Tash was running. He said, "There's a runner."
Oh,
yeah,
ouch.
I went, "No, I know, but you know, but he said, even he, you know, and he's like cross country champion, isn't he?
Yeah.
Proper run. Even he was saying, like, I wish I had the biomechanics that she has, because it's just not fair. Not dissimilar to yourself, Paula.
Well, used to be. I think we sometimes
hobble
along a little bit on them now, but flashes of it come back.
I think you're still quite good at running, Paula Radcliffe.
When I'm able to run. But the PRP is working. I was just telling you about that. So it's amazing the different things that we'll do to...
Right, so this is extracting blood.
Yeah, so they took out quite a lot of blood. It looked like quite a lot of blood for someone who's been anemic in the past. I kind of didn't like the way they took that out. Spun it around in a centrifuge and took all the red blood cells out of it and kind of binned those. And then what's left are the white blood cells that are the building blocks.
Right.
So then they put that into my calf. And we've had a couple of people write into the podcast and tell me that it apparently is a very effective way of speeding up healing, because I still had a lot of inflammation and stuff left in there from stupidly running.
So you've got that going on as well. So,
but it does seem to be all right now.
That's what I mean.
I'm trying to be
There's a lot of positives
more
at the moment.
patient than I've ever been.
Yeah,
because you know what it's
How
like.
is that
when
with you and
run.
patience?
I can be patient.
Really?
But yeah, once I get into it and I can go at it. But no, if I know the end result is what I have to do, and the alternative is not running for a long time because it's going to tear again, which I did a couple of times to teach me the lesson, then that's when I'm more likely to do it. And I've been cross-training, I've been in the pool, and I've been in the sea, aqua jogging, and I can do all of that.
Yeah.
It's almost as good, but it's never quite as good
Doesn't give
as
you that
getting
high.
out. And that's what it is. So if you could name or put ingredients to that runner's high, can you do that? I know it's really tough. But...
Well, it isn't. It isn't really tough, is it? Because the thing is, for me, it's not just before a run, during a run, or after a run. For me now, it's about my whole life, because it's completely changed my life, because I don't drink anymore. Right now, that is a direct result of running. So the first marathon was whenever it was, 2015, 2016. I don't know. Can't remember. Don't know how
15,
many I've done. Was
15,
it 2015?
because it was my last one.
Okay,
So
there you
I
go.
won't
So you would
forget it.
remember. It was my first. Your last was far more important to the world and you than my first.
Just so I think you remember your last one.
Well, now I will, because you told me that. Yeah, of course it was your last. I remember now.
10th anniversary this year.
Yeah.
Yay.
It's beautiful. So I can't remember what I'm saying now. So what was I saying? No,
We're talking about the feelings and the ingredients for a runner's high.
No, so the sobriety aspect of it. So I stopped drinking now 2 and a bit years ago. So that was, so I was still running for 8 years and drinking, but everything started to get better when I started running, you know. And I'm not eulogizing about this for no reason. It's completely true, because the Saturday morning run that Tash and I did, so good for our marriage, so good for our mental health. And we used to have a pretty big night out on a Friday and still do our trail run. And our trail run was sort of punishment, penance, a way to sort of get rid of the hangover from Friday night. And then what happened was, somehow, over time, the Saturday morning started to be more fun than the Friday. And the Friday, in a way, was like lead boots after you waking up with lead boots on a Saturday morning instead of our running shoes. And then one day we said, why should we just not go out next week? And if we're not going to go out on a Friday, we're not going out in the week. And then we used to have a glass of wine on a Saturday, and then we didn't miss it till on the Friday, so we just gave up on the Saturday. It sort of gave us up, you know. And you and I have talked about this before, about the fact that if you want to give up some things that aren't good for you and develop different habit energy, because it's only habit energy. You know, if you want to, it's not necessarily going out for a drink on a Friday. It's the idea all week of going out for a drink. It's the looking forward to that thing. It's the anticipation of it all. If you want to give up things that are more destructive for you, even only mildly destructive, and you want to develop more positive, constructive habit energy, then as opposed to trying to give stuff up, what's better or more effective, I've found, not for everyone necessarily, is to start doing something that you enjoy so much it elbows out the other stuff, and you don't have to give it up. It just falls away because it's been replaced by something so much better. And this, you know, this is speaking to your original question of the runner's high. For me now, it's all a high. The biggest high I ever had was after the first marathon. I mean, I literally didn't come off the ceiling for 3 days. I thought, this is unbelievable. And that's about a dopamine thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I still remember like seeing you coming down the home straight and the finishing straight, and that it is one of the most emotional places to be ever. I think that finish line, and you see it dawn on people's faces that they've done it. They've got through that journey, and they've got to that finish line.
And they've turned the brightness up.
Yeah,
you know, they are shining. People are. I mean, some people are knackered when they cross the finish line. You know, and some people, you know, are in all sorts of trouble. But most people, especially first timers, they have this light about them, don't they? It's a bit. I don't know. I suppose a bit like enlightenment. It's because you're taking your body to a different place, and you've not consumed anything, any toxins or any, you know, foreign stimulants. It's your own laboratory that's created this. You know, it's like, we know how clever our body is, we know how clever nature is, and it's the compound interest of the work you've put in, and it's also, you know, you're doing something good for yourself, and that's the secret sauce. And when you put all this stuff into a NutriBullet of emotions and energy, then you just get the most beautiful cocktail at the end of it. And then that becomes addictive, and then you end up being addicted to something that's good for you. Who doesn't want a bit of that? And then there's loads of tipping points, aren't there? There's like, what about the one where you reach the point where not going for a run makes you feel as bad as you used to feel when you knew you had to go for a run? Do you know what I mean? That's where you are now, isn't it? That's this week.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
You've got withdrawal. You've got serious FOMO.
Well, it's been weeks. It's been like 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. And you notice, and I said about this on the podcast the other week, you suddenly notice everybody else seems to be running.
Yeah.
You look out the window and you see all these runners going past. Like, why can't I just do that? So I'm going to ask you, when it gets tough in the marathon, what is your coping technique?
Oh God, loads. I mean, because the first few marathons, they weren't tough. And then they got tougher. I got terrible like hamstring issues and all this kind of stuff. I do what you do. I count. I practice crisis running. You know, I practice a different kind of run. Okay. It's just a different kind of movement. I didn't walk for the first few marathons. I wouldn't walk, and now I will walk. I'm happy to Jeff.
We've discovered on the podcast that's what it's called, Jeffing.
Jeffing.
I didn't know
that. I mean, you know, if you look at race walking and the UK record and European and the world record for half marathon times, they are so much quicker than some really fast runners. So let's have a little look at that. The physique of walkers, because I worked at the 2012 Olympics, of course, where, you know, you were there, we were all there. It was an amazing time, and all the walkers had like these amazing physiques. And you know, we know that walking is good for you. And there's a great book, Chris McDougall's book, Born to Run. Yeah. And some people say, well, yeah, we're born to run, but you should say in brackets, but not all the time, you know. But we definitely are born to walk, you know. Yeah. And so I've fallen in love with walking in between running. So I'll often do that in the marathon. You know, I'll go for Ks instead of miles because they're more achievable. And I'll make sure I'm hydrated all the time. I'll remember why I'm there, to enjoy it all the time.
And what do you do carb-wise during? Do you take things with you?
Yeah.
You carry gels.
Take gels. I didn't used to. I used to sort of white knuckle it. But now there's no, you know, it's easier, isn't it? And it makes more sense. I take more now than I've ever taken before. I take one every half an hour. I used to take 6 a marathon. I used to take 1 before, and then every 4 miles.
What
But
about the heat this year?
yeah, he was fine. It was all fine because we were, it's all right. Just stay hydrated. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
And also the most important thing they say, in golf there are 35 rules. So if you get the R&A golf rules of golf book, there's 35 rules of golf, and Callaway invented the 36th. Enjoy the game, and it's the same thing with running.
Yeah.
I
think it's the first rule, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And especially at our level, and don't ruin the time you're going to have for the time that you want to achieve, because nobody cares. I mean, nobody cares. Even at your level, 4th or 5th, it's very impressive and they deserve all the accolades they get, but nobody really cares. It's 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at best, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when you get to our level, nobody really.
Well, you care for you personally, don't you? It's your personal targets and it's your personal, like you say, enjoyment. And for most people, it's get around, enjoy the camaraderie, enjoy the course. Because I am going to ask you what your favourite marathon is, because you've done a lot. I'm going to say 6, 7.
Yeah, I've done different ones. They're all great, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be London all the way.
They're all great for London.
Yeah, it's got to be London all the way. New York and London they're sort of on par, but I'm British, so I'm just going to go with London. New York's amazing.
New York's just, what's cool about New York, I think, is that it's almost like you're in 5 different cities.
Yeah.
Because each borough is slightly different vibe.
Yeah, it's so sexy and cool, and it's like you say, it's like a real theme park, isn't it? Well, London's amazing. Amsterdam, we did a self-curated LA marathon because we'd signed up for Tokyo, then COVID hit and Tokyo got cancelled.
That's right.
But we had 4 days off. We'd organised 4 days of childcare, so we went to LA. We curated our own marathon there. I quite like the bigger runs. I don't know. We did a Hell Week once, which is a 50k, 50 miles on the Saturday, 50k on the Wednesday, and a marathon on the Friday. That was fun.
Wow.
That was great.
Impressive. So you could do comrades.
Yeah, well, Tasha's talking about doing comrades. She's looking to do. She just wants to do some other stuff. Chicago, Boston. We were going to do Chicago this year, but we're not doing Chicago now because we just had a busy year. So we're back to London. But it's all good. It's all great. So grateful. I love it. I love you. I love running.
And thank you for joining us, because what we really wanted to do this time was just share that enthusiasm. I hope, and I really feel that's come across from you, because it's magic to watch, and it was magic that first time. And I was thinking, I don't even know if he's going to manage to make it around this marathon. And yet you've done all of that training, all of that preparation, and like I say, the biggest smile on your face in, and also have to say, raising huge amounts for children in need as well.
It's great, and getting your splits sorted out, and because I don't run with a watch, I don't have any technology.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Too many people now are almost governed by waiting for that beep beep and am I on the right target? Yeah. When just tuning into your body and running to how
it's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful, and and if you can get out there and also listen to podcasts like this, because it's so important. Tash and I were always watching YouTube. She wants to Western State is a dream, and just consume all this stuff, because there's a couple of things in this, like your inner psyche doesn't know whether you've done something or you haven't if you watch other people doing it. And it's brilliant for visualization, but you've got to be careful because if you go to watch Man United, it doesn't mean you've just played for Man United.
Right. If you watch Eliud Kipchoge, it doesn't mean you're going to run 1:59.
By the way, my apart from the tips you gave me, which were the best tips ever in a marathon, best marathon tip ever is half marathon's not 30 miles, it's 20 miles. That's the greatest tip ever. The second greatest tip, also from you, was start slow and aim to start slow, and then start slow, because you'll be running too fast because you're too excited, especially in your first marathon, which is all completely true. You feel like a superhuman for the first 2 or 3 miles. And then sort of part 2 of that particular tip was, if you don't think you could run any faster, if you had to, you're running too fast, slow down. And I do that all the time. So thank you for that. And my other favorite tip from Eliud Kipchoge is the most important vitamin. Do you know this one? Vitamin N.
N?
Yeah.
What's that, nutrition?
No. It's vitamin no.
Vitamin no.
Say no to all the things and all the people who are trying to get you to stray from your path. If you got a goal, vitamin N, No, 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 no. I'm doing this. Thank you very much. I love vitamin N.
So single-mindedness.
Single-mindedness.
Brilliant.
It doesn't mean you have to get there, but don't let anybody else tell you what they say that the number one thing that people complain about in life is not getting what they want. And the number one reason for that is because they don't know what they want. And they talk about manifestation all the time. And manifestation isn't so much woo-woo, it's just setting an intention. Because if you set an intention, it's on your radar and you see more of the things that you need to get to achieve your intention than you would otherwise. Now, you may not get there, but
you'll get close.
You'll get close. And all the problems and all the challenges along the way aren't the problems and the challenges, they're the signposts. You just see them as signposts because they're getting you to where you want to go.
You're keeping going towards the goal, I guess. It reminds me of something my grandma used to say to me and it was like every once in a while, step out of your life and look back in from the outside. Because if you're not happy with what's happening, you're the only person who can do anything about it. So you have to get out there and change it.
Zoom out.
So
bit of perspective.
Look a bit out and keep that vitamin No going.
Perspective is everything.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I bet you're very good at vitamin N.
I try and do it. Yeah.
I think most world record holders are probably very good at vitamin N.
I've got a name for it now, but I think I just used to think I was just being stubborn and single-minded. Which is what I am doing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Absolutely appreciate it.
It's such an honour to be interviewed by you.
Cash back as well.
She would love to come on.
We would love to have her on.
She'd be great.
We'll make it a whole family thing.
Right, thanks, Paula.
Thank you.
You're the best.
Wow. Thank you, Chris. Always good measure, isn't he? And if that didn't fail to inspire you, then I think we really are struggling. But talk about going from no idea what running could do for your life to running being a huge part of your life. So I'm sure we would have liked to have him with us for a couple of these listener interactions coming up, because I know he'd enjoy putting in a little bit of advice and also posing his own questions. So should we kick off with this listener interaction, Tomo?
Yeah, I think so. And it's nice first one from Wendy Hammond, along the lines of what we're talking about. She says, "Hi both, I've just discovered your podcast and love them. Thank you very much. Would you be able to discuss jeffing? It's something I've done for a few years and has meant I can enjoy running. I had to push back at some races when I am told I should be running when I'm on a walk, but I do see more and more people using this technique. We've started our own jeffing group that runs on a Tuesday night in Bedford, your old stomping ground, Paula. And would love for more people to know about jeffing, not to be embarrassed about using it. Of course, you are both more than welcome to join us on a Tuesday night if you would like to. Thanks again for your podcast, Wendy." There you go. So you can go jeffing in Bedford, Paula.
I can. And for a little bit of context, Tomo and I also had no clue what jeffing was until the last series, did we? But now we know. And so it is after named for Jeff Galloway, right? And it is the technique of run, walk, run, walk, run, walk. And I joked about, I actually first knew it as cramming, because it is the advice that Steve Cram would give out to people starting marathons for the first time, and just to kind of build in the walks before you need to have them in to be able to keep going at that same pace for longer. So it's a way of gauging your effort, and it's a brilliant way of getting into it, Wendy. Absolutely no way that you should be ashamed of it. So many people do use it, and it's a really good way just to keep your pace, as I said, and gradually build up the length of the runs in between until finally you are able to run the majority of the way through the marathon.
Yeah, because I didn't know it was called jeffing, as you said, but I used it all the time to get back from injuries. So especially after a stress fracture, that's one of the common themes of run walk. So you build up 1 minute walk, 1 minute run. And so you see elite athletes using it all the time. I'm
actually jeffing now.
What, as we speak?
I'm jeffing. No, not right now as we speak. But later on this evening, I will be jeffing I'm starting to finally be allowed to run back from my calf injury. So I'm going to build in a bit of jeffing, and I know what it's called now.
There you
go.
So
moving on to the next email that we have. It is from Matt Thomas. "Hello, loving the podcast, and thanks for all the time you put into making them." Thank you. "So interesting to hear you chatting and the guests that you have on. I wanted to ask the general question of, is my approach to effort during races holding me back? First, I might need an explanation of what my approach to effort is. My whole race is geared around running to effort rather than pace or trying to hit a time. My theory is that no matter the terrain, hills, heat, rain, how my body is feeling that day, etc., as long as I'm achieving my effort level strategy, then I will have done the best I could on that day and I'll always be happy. As examples, 5K up to halfway, I do 1 breath per 3 steps, then 1 breath per 2 steps until 300 meters, then everything I've got left to the end. 10K, same as the above, but 2 steps breathing, starts from 7.5K and then all out with 300 to go. Half marathon, I ride that line until mile 4, then 3-step breathing into mile 11, then repeat as above. I'm yet to try this in a marathon. It's completely freeing not to be tied into chasing times and pace, and I rarely see the time at all until I cross the finish line. I just need to execute my strategy. The main question I have, is this complete madness? No, I don't think so. Am I putting in effort through the race? Enough effort? And sometimes I worry that I'm not doing enough early on, but I always end up working pretty hard and feeling sick through effort at the end. This could be just the sprinting doing that though. This is quite hard to really articulate properly through text, but I've tried my best. Would love to hear your take on it, even if it's to laugh at it and rip it apart. Thank you and keep up the good work. Matt in Bristol. Well, we're not going to rip it apart, are we, by any means?
Not at all.
I think it's a very, very well used technique. You've put a lot of effort into adapting it into the breathing rate as well. And actually, breathing rate, there's a lot of evidence that it's far more indicative of effort and correlates better across general person to person than a heart rate does. So if you might be told to match your heart rate to an effort, everybody's slightly different. Everyone is about the same at breathing rate. So if you're at 35 breaths a minute, and I don't know how that works into your step analogy that you're using, but around 35 breaths per minute is comfortable for everyone. 40 breaths, you're starting to feel like you're working harder, and 45 to 50, you're pretty much flat out. And so that, I guess, is kind of the gauge that you're using. And I think it's a really, really smart way to make sure, particularly as you move up the distances, that you don't go off too quickly. So hats off, Matt. I think you've got a great technique, and thank you for putting the effort into explaining it like you did.
Yeah. I've got this, might sound a bit of a strange mantra for life. In Braveheart, there's a really nice line where William Wallace meets his uncle, and he picks up the sword, and the uncle says, "Before I teach you how to use this, I must first teach you how to use this, and use your brain before you use your sword." Mm-hmm. And I think of effort in those terms, like before you learn to race, you got to learn your own effort, and you've got to learn yourself first. And that's when I first got into running, that's all it was. I mean, I didn't use the breathing technique, but it's very much about how finding your own pathway to over shorter reps, especially that's how you learn your body. And once you learn your body, then you can then apply it against other people and use it as a weapon. I do think we should delve into this a lot more deeper at another time and get someone on to go into it. But I think this is a really big subject, and I think that he's absolutely right, Matt from Bristol, that this is almost like a big subject matter. We should do a justice on a full episode, but he's right, and I do think learning yourself before you learn to race is the right way around to do it. This is from Tim Smith, and he says, 2 marathon in 2 weeks, bad idea, title the email. Well, yeah, nod to you, Paula, for this one. I think you're in a good position to answer this. But hi, love the new podcast and the previous one. Thank you very, very much. It was unsuccessful in the London Marathon ballot, as most people were. But you paid for a guaranteed place in the Brighton Marathon. I've now been lucky enough to get a charity's place for London Marathon for the British Heart Foundation, and now he looks like he has 2 places, Brighton and London Marathon. I would love to hear your thoughts on whether this is sensible, and if so, how to approach the first one. I'm not bothered about a PB, but see London as my priority. I have run 11 marathons in the past, but none since 2016, and not run much in the last few years. Thanks very much, Tim Smith. Over to you, Paula, who has done this very thing.
Well, I haven't done it quite that much, didn't I? I had about 5-6 weeks, I think. But we can absolutely reach out to very many people who did do less than that. Actually, a lot of people did 6 days this year from Boston into London.
Adele,
I do know a number
guest.
of people. Adele was one, Nicola Carragher was one. So I do know people that have done that. I know people that have actually got on a plane and flown the other way and kind of gone Sunday to Monday, which is very, very tough to do when they are that way around. A lot of people have done Brighton into London. I'm going for a run later on with a guy who did the very same thing last year in 2024, and it worked out well. I think the key message for you, Tim, is to make sure that you concentrate, as you say, on the one that means the most to you, and kind of look at the other one as a training type run. Possibly even meaning that you do it in more training type shoes rather than actually racing. You don't push as hard. You certainly take it easier to halfway, and then you can run in quicker, because there's a lot of evidence shows that it's kind of going hard past 20 miles that is the hard thing to recover from. So if you keep it easy for the first part and then try and run in Brighton, and then concentrate on very little training, lots of recovery in between the two, I think that's the key message. Brighton's really easy. You get in the sea straight afterwards. I think you've done that before there, haven't you, Tomo?
Well, it was Portsmouth. If you're talking the story, if you're thinking of the story, I'm thinking that was
you were in there
Portsmouth.
for different reasons, but if you can get into the sea, then it really helps to start icing your legs, taking down the inflammation, and that's a good part of the recovery process. As I say, concentrate on cryo if you can, ice baths if you can, lots of massage, lots of stretching, lots of easy walking, running in the couple of days afterwards, and then really start the carbo loading process again into London. I am sure that you can do it. You have the marathon experience behind you. Just remember to keep a lid on it in Brighton, and very best of luck. Please come back and let us know how you get on.
You could almost you can always deploy the Jeffing method for the first half of Brighton, because obviously he says London is his priority, but I think you're right. You've got to get to the second half in as smooth a way possible. Maybe Jeffing first half, and then a bit more of an effort in the second half. But certainly you don't want to finish that Brighton marathon if you're London's priority feeling like you've run like your hardest race. But yeah, good luck. Let's tell us all about it.
Yeah. And our last one for this week, dear Paula and Chris, this is from Ruth Burnett. I was really excited to see that your podcast had come back. I was enjoying the first episode. Oh, sorry, I'm going to start that again because I'm not reading that bit. Our last one this week comes from Ruth Burnett. Dear Paula and Chris, I wanted to ask if you have any training tips for the over 60s. Obviously, age 60 is by no means old in today's world, but I'm struggling to find advice or training plans which perhaps build in more recovery time, more strength work, etc. I've been running for decades, but now I'm just ticking over a 10k-ish distance and not progressing anymore. I've done marathons in the past, but I have to admit that I breathed a huge sigh of relief that I didn't get place in the London Ballot this year. I'd be grateful and happy for your help and advice. Best wishes and thanks in advance, Ruth Burnett. Thank you, Ruth. And I think it's a really, really key question. And I do want to say at this point, we do foresee doing an episode in the future where we are talking about kind of male and female as you get older, how you need to adapt that training. And you are absolutely right. You need to concentrate on increased recovery time, definite, and more strength work. There's a lot of evidence that as the hormone levels decline, by doing strength work, you can keep your muscle strength there, which is a big part of staying young. I think looking a little bit at making sure that you get, yes, enough of the vitamins in your diet, but also enough of things like collagen can really, really help in keeping that muscle strength there, stretching a little bit more, and just taking a little bit more care at what time of day perhaps you do your training, so not going cold into something quicker, not going cold into your strength work, and perhaps building it round. So, I mean, which way do you do it, Tomo? I like to kind of work out for a little bit, jog easily, and then go into strength work rather than going into it straight off.
It's funny actually, because of this question. I used to do it that way. Now I prefer to do strength work in isolation. So if I go into a gym, I almost use exercises to warm up for the gym. I feel like running, certainly for any length of time, leaves me too tired and a bit kind of, this is a technical word, floppy in the gym. I found, certainly as I got older, I definitely found separating things out a big useful thing, because when I was training in my prime, I was, like you say, I was mixing sessions up, mixing up the stimulus, not just in the running, in the gym, in the drills. It was all kind of married into like a 2-3 hour block of training. But now I have to very, very aware, struggling for the word, very clearly separate each section out, so I have a clear recovery from, if I'm in the gym, recover before I do a run, and so forth, almost to the point where I do it on separate days. Yeah. So that, I think, like you say, I think we need to do an episode on this, because
yes,
because I think the
And I do
journey,
think, Ruth, the key point, isn't it, is listening to your body. That's the main thing. And sometimes it might take 2 or 3 days to recover. I found as I was getting towards the end of my competitive career, I could still do the workouts, but instead of being able to do them every couple of days, it was maybe twice a week. And sometimes I just needed that extra day. And it's just not being afraid to take that extra day and make sure you get the quality rather than the quantity, and putting it in as quickly as you can.
I also would flip that and say, because quite often I have these conversations with my parents and a lot of people of, don't let age be a barrier to being able to do more than you think you can as well. So yes, you respect the recovery, but I also think there's a don't be scared of what you think you can't do. Because actually you're capable of a lot more than you think. And quite often, I did it when I was 30. I thought at 30 someone waved a wand and I would not be an elite anymore. And then I got to 40. Age is not the factor. It's got to be about you and your journey and your health and well-being. And it might take you a bit of time to build up your resilience, but recovery is part of it. But also don't be scared of what you're capable of, because you're almost certainly you're capable of more than what you think.
Yeah, which is a great way to lead into the next section, which is the honours board shout outs for this week. So I'm going to kick that off with someone that we know very well. It's actually Jo Lee, who is mum of Alice, and we know Jo and Alice very well.
Legends,
and she wants to
legends.
send the shout out to her daughter Alice. The sole reason that she began running, she started this crazy journey to stay fit enough to be able to lift and look after Alice and give her the life that she deserves. And what that meant was that they were introduced to a whole new running community, of which I have to say Jo and Alice are an integral part. So shout out, you're on the honours board this week, Jo and Alice, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
This is Lucy Evans, Personal Achievements. Love listening to your podcast, and it helps with my ADHD and panic attacks. After reaching perimenopause, I was in a low place mentally. I've been running for 10 years, but I was just at an all-time low, and even though I was still running with my club, I felt like a fake, not good company, didn't feel like I belong. I turned 50 this year and want to do something special, for I have signed up for a 50-mile ultra end of August, as I need time to train up. I've given up drinking and eating better. I did the Dartmoor Discovery Ultra in June and knocked 1 hour 6 minutes from last year's time. Yeah, that's a lot.
That's why you're on the honours board, Lucy.
Yeah, there you go. Smashing aim of my races, but more important, I feel proud of myself and feel like a runner again. I have joined the gym after cancelling due to panic attacks and feel those have really helped. Many thanks, Lucy Evans, and from South Devon. What a brilliant! This is why it's a great joy to read. I got a little bit of goosebumps reading that out. I'm just so proud of you. Well done, and I hope this kind of, a group hug from everyone, from us and everyone. Well done for doing that, and it's buzzing to see that running is an ultra specifically in this case has done that for you. Well done, Lucy.
Brilliant. And next one comes from Louise, who wants to give a big shout out to her inspiration for running, her friends Jack and Nick, who invited her to share their 300th and their 100th park runs at the end of 2023. She'd never been to a park run before, only ever run under duress at school, and discovered a whole new community. So began Couch to 5K in the second week of January 2024. And since then has been completing park runs, completed the Couch to 5K, and has run several 10K and 10-mile races, as well as completing the Mid-Sussex Marathon this year. Absolute hats off. Well done, Louise, and thank you to Jack and Nick for introducing her. She also has other friends part of that group, Henrietta, Ruth, and new recruit Sandia, all amazing, and she wants to give a big shout out and thank you to you.
Oh, what a legend. And one last one before we have to close this one. Tim Collins, milestone for our Couch to 5Kers. Hi guys, love listening to your build up to London and glad you've returned for a regular pod. My Tuesday dog walk. Hi on Tuesday, hope the walk's going well. I took up my running last year and this come on a massively I took up running last year and this has come on massively since joining Birkenhead Park Running Club. I'm half a year in and I've done Liverpool half, a few 10Ks and signed up for loads of others. Now I've got the bug. Anyway, you mentioned milestones and I want to shout out to the Couch to 5Ks who lots of BPRC runners have supported to do this program over recent weeks, culminating in 5K this Saturday after Park Run. It's great to see them stick with this and get to this point. I'm sure they'll smash it on Sunday. Cheers, PNC, Tim Collins. Fantastic. This is what it's all about, how it kind of it feeds each other. So well done, congratulations, and I hope you find your way home on the dog walk and the sun is shining on you right now.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for listening to us. I am sure you, as we have been super inspired by Chris and his stories and his fun that he brings to it, and to all of those. Please do keep sending in these messages and emails. The WhatsApp number is +44 756 474 791. That email address is paulasrunclub@momentumbroadcast.co.uk, and you can of course find us on YouTube, X, Instagram and TikTok. Just search for Paula's Run Club, Facebook as well. So we are really looking forward to joining you next week. We have a special live episode from the anniversary games.
Yes, we do, with some very special guests, so please get your questions in. A bit of a brain trust over very experienced athletes. We won't give it away just yet, but please send them in. Looking forward to sitting down and having a bit of a chat in the same room as each other. So make sure you've got your running, Paula, so you're nice and happy.
I will do. I will definitely try and do that. Might even join the park run.
There you go. Very good.